like to call the May 6th meeting of the Person Board of County Commissioners to order at this time. I will lead us in I recognize that we do have a quorum, by the way, Madam Clerk, we do have a quorum, and lead us in an invocation if you so desire to pray with me, after which Commissioner Palmer will lead us in a pledge of allegiance. And also, before we begin our actual prayer, I'd like to have a moment of silence for those that law enforcement people that lost their lives this week last week in a tragic event in our state. So a moment of silence for those. Our Heavenly Father, we do acknowledge you as God Almighty and ruler of this universe. We're able to come to this meeting tonight by your virtues, by your kindness and your grace. We do again pray for those that protect not only our country worldwide, but protect us here in our own county as they go about their duties in a very, very dangerous environment that we live in today. Pray for your guidance through this meeting for us to make good and right decisions for the people of Person County. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Those who wish to desire us to pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business is discussion, adjustment, and approval of the agenda as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried. Item number 1 on the agenda is a resolution of appreciation for a county retiree, and that person is Dennis Allen. Is he in attendance? He retired from the sheriff's office after 30 odd years, so 34. Yeah, I didn't see you back there. Okay, I'll read that and then ask one of you gentlemen, officers, to take it to him. Resolution of appreciation. Whereas Dennis Allen has served the people of Person County during his employment with the Person County Sheriff's Office, and whereas Dennis Allen has served the citizens of Person County with honor, integrity, sincerity, dedication, providing accurate, concise services for 30 years, July 1, 1994 through May 1, 2024. Whereas Dennis Allen has earned the respect and admiration of all who have known him and worked with him throughout his career, and whereas the County of Person recognizes the many contributions Dennis Allen has made to the county as a detention officer, deputy sheriff, and a deputy sheriff division supervisor, and offers him sincere best wishes for his retirement. Now, therefore, I, Gordon Powell, Chairman of the Person County Board of Commissioners, do hereby extend this resolution of appreciation to Dennis Allen for his dedicated commitment and continually striving to make Person County a better place to live and work, adopted this 6th day of May 2024, signed Gordon Powell and attested to by Michelle Solomon. So we'll pass this over for her signature, and then could we leave that with the sheriff?
Sure.
Would you like to? Okay. If you'd like to take that document too. All right. All right. Okay, moving on to item number 2, a proclamation recognizing May as Guardian Ad Litem, Child Advocacy Month, and I will read this proclamation. Proclamation, Guardian Item, or Ad Litem, all twisted up. Start all over. Proclamation, Guardian Ad Litem, Child Advocate Month, May 2024. Whereas the North Carolina Guardian Ad Litem program, celebrating more than 40 years of child advocacy, has a distinguished record of public service through the work of enhancing the quality of life for abused and neglected children, petitioned in dependency court. And whereas all 100 counties in North Carolina have Guardian Ad Litem program, and whereas in Person County, there are currently 28 Guardian Ad Litem volunteer advocates who come from a variety of age groups, backgrounds, and careers that represent 77 children ranging in age from birth to 17. And whereas the Person County judicial system is supported by one full-time staff member who recruits, trains, and supervises their volunteer Guardian Ad Litem, and whereas these volunteers conduct independent investigations to determine the facts, the needs of the child, and resources to meet those needs, to report fact-based best interest recommendations to the court, to work effectively towards safety and permanency for these children. And whereas in 2023, North Carolina District 11, which includes Person County, Guardian Ad Litem volunteer advocates prepared court reports for 957 scheduled hearings, accepted appointments to 57 children, and saw 36 children's cases close with permanency. And whereas every child deserves a voice in court, but not every child has a Guardian Ad Litem volunteer. Abuse and neglect have long-term personal, economic, and social cost, hurting children today and in the future. And whereas we recognize Person County has caring, compassionate individuals who step up to do this important work for our children. Now therefore, the Person County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim May as Guardian Ad Litem Child Advocate Month, and call upon all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, therefore preventing child abuse, neglect, and strengthening of the communities in which we live. Adopted this 6th day of May 2024, attested or signed Gordon Powell, Chair of the Board, and Michelle Solomon, our Clerk. So we'll pass that over to her. Thank you, sir. Okay, item number 3 is another proclamation recognizing clerks to the Board of County Commissioners. We're going to make this week, and Manager Kathy, if you would read that for us.
Sure, and before I do that,
Sure.
could we have a motion to approve the first item, the resolution, and the second item, the
Okay.
proclamation?
All right. Okay, item number 1, well, that was the resolution of appreciation. Motion for that.
So moved.
Have a motion, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Then you need one for item 2 as well.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Need a motion for item 2, the proclamation.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. As Chairman Powell mentioned, this is the Clerk to the Boards of County Commissioners Week, and we would like to recognize and express our appreciation for our county clerk, Michelle Solomon, who served in that role since August the 15th. She's a member of the North Carolina Association of County Clerks and is attending a certification program through the UNC School of Government to become a certified municipal clerk. Whereas it is imperative to the democratic process that a well-informed citizenry participates in the operation of their local government, and whereas the office of the clerk to the board provides the communication link between the citizens, the local governing body, and administrative departments and local government partners, and whereas the position of clerk is one of the oldest in local government, dating at least to biblical times, and whose term has long been associated with the written word, so it is that modern-day clerks are official record keepers for their counties. And whereas North Carolina law requires every Board of County Commissioners to appoint a clerk, and the clerk continues in that position at the pleasure of the board. And whereas the clerk's most significant statutory duties concern the preparation, filing, and safeguarding of local government records, that the statutory duties constitute only a portion of what the clerk actually does. And whereas the clerk plays a vital role in county government and provides the written record needed to ensure that the board is accountable to the county citizens and to other public and private officials. And whereas the clerk is sometimes described as the hub of the wheel in local government because of the central work that the clerk plays in the government's communication network. And whereas as local government becomes larger and more complicated, the clerk's role as a professional, dispassionate provider of information to citizens, government officials, and the media becomes more and more important. And whereas clerks have the opportunity to participate in the North Carolina Association of County Clerks, a very active professional association of public officials dedicated to improving the professional competency of clerks through regular regional and statewide educational opportunities. And whereas clerks, upon their own initiative, participate in certification and education programs, including annual meetings of the North Carolina Association of County Clerks and the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, which not only improve the operation of their office, but through their achievements and awards bring favorable publicity to the counties in which they serve. And whereas clerks are involved at the state level as well as in potential legislative and other matters of interest, and whereas, although clerks work for the boards of county commissioners, they truly provide public service.
And to conclude that resolution, now therefore the Person County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Clerks to the Board of County Commissioners Week, and extends our appreciation to our clerk to the board, Michelle Solomon, and to all county clerks for their vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the county they represent. Adopted this 6th day of May, 2024, signed Gordon Powell, County Commissioner. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. It is an honor and privilege to serve the board and also at the same time be an employee of the county of First. Thank you.
Thank you. Doing an outstanding job. Yeah, we do need a motion for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none, motion carried. Item number 4 is a public hearing, consideration of approval of private roadway Sydney Rose Drive to be added to the database for E911 dispatching. Ms. Vaughn, we need a motion actually to open the public. Yeah, we got all that done. Right, go ahead. We're done. I'm looking at notes.
You're ready to go. Good evening, Commissioners. I bring before you tonight a request to add Sydney Rose Drive, a private roadway, to our database of E911 roads in the county. We've done this a few times recently, and this is no different. We're having a private citizen add a third home along a private driveway, which constitutes the naming of that driveway. Thankfully, there is a single property owner in this location, and so she got to pick what she wanted. And so she chose the name of Sydney Rose Drive, which is apparently representative of some family in the area. And so that name was unanimously approved, so I bring that before you today for approval.
Any questions of Ms. Vaughn? Madam Clerk, do we have public comments in favor or in opposition to?
We don't have any individuals sign up to speak in favor of or in opposition of, but can I please get a motion to open this hearing?
I thought we did that. Okay. we'll take that motion.
Motion to open the hearing.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Okay.
There are no individuals that signed up to speak in favor of or in opposition to.
There are none, and there aren't any questions, so we need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 5 on the agenda would be consideration to grant or deny the approval of the private road Sydney Rose Drive to be added to the database of 911 dispatching. Do we have a motion related to this request?
Move for approval.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. Any discussion?
Second.
No, yeah, we don't require it. Yeah. So we have the motion on the floor, no other discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 6 is public hearing quasi judicial, and it's for SUP 0324, a request by the applicant and property owner J. Poindexter Property Management, LLC, for special use permit related to 14 acres, tax map A3161, located at 9958 Samora Road, to allow Poindexter Event Center in an R or residential zoning district per section 155 of the planning ordinance. Mr. Chris Bowley. Do we have a motion to open our hearing?
Can I just, we have heard from the audience that they're having difficulty hearing, so maybe if we can just move the microphones closer.
Yeah.
Does that help for me? Oh, okay.
That help? Okay. I don't know.
I'll check with IT.
All the green lights are on. I don't know. It's all I, we'll hold on a second.
He's turning it up, so hopefully that will help.
Does this help in at all? Yeah. Oh, okay. Good. All right. I can stand back now. All right.
Ready?
We're all done. Yeah, we're ready.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners.
afternoon.
Mr. Bowley, can
Guess
we
we'll
get a
get
motion,
started.
please?
Do we have a motion to open this public hearing? Sorry.
Motion to open the public meeting, Chairman Powell.
We do have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none, motion carried. I'm sorry. Proceed, sir.
Thank you, sir. I think we just need to do the swearing in to start.
Yes, sir. So for the following individuals that signed up for in opposition or in favor of this quasi judicial hearing, please step forward. Mr. C. Adam. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson.
Probably gonna be silent. Give you some room. Probably easier.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Great, thank you. You may be seated. I'll put Mr. Bailey.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners.
After.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Tonight before you is special use permit application 0324, which is entitled the Poindexter Event Center. Subject property is 14.39 acres. It's located at 9958 Samora Road, located at the northwest corner of Samora Road and Pfeiffer Lane, has a Hyco Lake future land use designation with an R residential zoning designation. The proposed event center use needs special use permit approval in an R zoning district. The applicant followed the planning ordinance criteria for SUP applications in the site plan. The proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan for the county and county ordinances. This is an aerial photograph. The white building is the barn to be used as the event center. This green line is a septic easement which also serves these homes to the east. Hyco Lake is to the south. Real estate office to the southeast. Pfeiffer Lane is this black line ending in a cul-de-sac back here. This private gravel road serves this house to the north, bisects the property. Vacant to the west, vacant to the north, and then Hyco Lake comes back around this way, and then their homes to the south. This is the future land use map showing the Hyco Lake future land use designation. The zoning map showing the residential needing the special use permit application. This is the site plan which is required of special use permit applications. You can see the topography as well, that the building sits at the highest point. These narrow lines show relief, meaning it slopes down here, it slopes down away from the building. This is the septic system serving the building and these homes to the east. And you can see on this site plan faintly that there's a proposed grass parking lot east of that private road which is cutting across the property. The parking lot is shown here, has 100 spaces, 52 of which would be eastward oriented, and we'll talk about that in a minute. These are the findings of fact which accompany a special use permit application. That the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. The unbolded text is what the applicant provides to us that we include in the application. That the use meets all required conditions and specifications. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. That the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which is to be located and in general conformity with the comprehensive plan. And the applicant answered in the affirmative to all those. So staff recommendation based on the above, Planning and Zoning Department staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners approve SUP 0324 for the Poindexter Event Center with our zone property with the following conditions. The applicant continues to obtain all required permits from Person County, the state of North Carolina, and any other agency to achieve construction, operations, and maintenance of the subject property. The Person County noise ordinance is followed because it is an event center. The applicant or tenant installs a continuous landscape hedge at a minimum height of 2 feet at full maturity along the eastern property boundary of the proposed parking lot that screens the parking lot from adjacent lane uses to the east. And this primarily will capture or mitigate headlight glare into the homes as people use the parking lot. The applicant or tenant shall provide continual property maintenance as does not impact adjacent properties. And this is the potential motion, which is a repeat of the last slide, if you so choose to follow that motion. With that concludes my presentation.
Sir, any questions from board members? No questions? Then, Madam Clerk, do we have comments in favor or opposition?
We do. We have both in favor of the applicant, J. Poindexter.
How y'all doing?
Good evening.
Talking about this, I met with some of the neighbors last Saturday, not this past Saturday, Saturday before last, and we talked about the same things right there, about putting a buffer in between the houses and all, which we hadn't planned it yet, but we are. We're looking at putting holly bushes in, which would end up growing probably 3 foot tall. but that'll be the buffer line I was gonna put in there. Now, one other thing that come up in our meeting with the neighbors at the time was, could we move the parking lot to the west side? And when you look at the map again, the west side would be away from the homes on that side. We gotta see why our septic lines run in and our depth of our septic lines. Now, right there, where you see that septic easement coming across there, that's the easement that goes to one house that's behind the venue. There's 6 more lots behind the White House that go through there also, but they're buried deep enough where you can drive across. They're probably 6 to 10 foot deep. I mean, we've driven cars, bulldozers, all across it. I mean, it's deep enough to do that. I mean, even before I was there, before we even bought it, we could do that as well. The seat right here. Yeah, that's
You want
site
the
plan.
aerial or the
That's
site
site plan. See the site plan we had right there? That one?
There's a pointer, whoops. There's a pointer, that little red mark right there.
This one right here.
Yeah, the little red one.
All right. See, right now, the parking lot is proposed right here on the east. We want to see if we can put it over here on the west, which would be away from all the homes. No homes on this side at all, nobody. This is all vacant land. This is a highway right here. If we can get right here and put our parking lot there, because our new septic system that we have permits for now is right in this area, at the beginning of this. But that's what we're looking at, putting the parking lot on this side, on the west side of this drive, coming this way into the building and moving away from the east. And I mean, after talking with the neighbors and, seeing their concerns, I mean, this is not a hard move from right here to right here. I mean, it's not that bad a move, but, if they not happy, I never will be. So trying to do something here and put a buffer zone coming through here with the holly bushes. I mean, that's the game plan. So, but like I said, I got permits in place now for the new sewer system to go in, the septic system to go in. It's gonna be a time release system. I mean, we already got it designed for that. Permits just got issued last week on that, though. So we hadn't started anything to get through here and see how everything went, but it's been a feat to get this far, I will say that. So, y'all have any questions for me, concerning? Yeah.
Is this below the Burley plantation?
Yes, it is. It's in front of it.
Yeah.
And David and Sherry behind it, I've talked with them too, and I mean, they like it. I mean, we've done all we could to improve. I mean, we've done extensive landscaping out there. But, I mean, I tried to keep it right because, look, I'm in real estate. I don't want property values to drop around me because that's my paycheck. So that's the way I look at things. If you're improving on the community, go for it.
And what's the amount of homes located
It's
around
6.
that section?
6.
6? I knew it wasn't many.
Yeah, there's 6 there. So, but that's it. I don't know if y'all got anything y'all want to add or go on.
Okay. If no other questions, speakers,
We do have 4 that are in opposition.
okay? Thank you, sir.
The first speaker is John Seep.
Good evening. I'm John Seep, and I have been properly sworn in. I get the honor of following Jay this session. Last session, he followed me. Have you ever heard of trying to hit a straight lick with a crooked stick? The Poindexter Properties LLC is an example of getting a desired outcome from a crooked or unconventional process. Let me explain. For the last year and a half, since August 4th of 2022, Poindexter Properties has been operating an event center at this property as its primary purpose, not as an auxiliary or secondary purpose as the previous owner did. The Poindexters did not get along with the original owner, so they purchased this property, getting Admiral Properties LLC, Stephen and Christina Smith, to purchase it, and 21 days later, they bought it from them. From the time they purchased the property, Poindexter Properties has been solely focused on using it as an event center. The documents reflect that the previous property owner used it, and what I mean is Poindexter's application that you find in your agenda package says that the event center was used by the previous property owner as an event center. It infers that it was a primary use as an event center. This is a lie. The previous owner used it as a fancy barn and apartment and had just completed it prior to sale. It was used less than a handful of times, free of charge, not at $6,000 an event for fire department fundraisers and a couple other similar events. The Poindexters even tried to plant sunflowers to try to mask their commercial use of this property, trying to make it appear that they were using it for agricultural purposes, which the previous owner had deferment for, agricultural deferment. When I started a project in January, one of the first things I stressed to my contractor was to make sure that if any permits were required, that they were obtained before we needed them. You can only guess why, considering how many times I get up here and I talk to you guys. It's me. I'm not a realtor. I'm not married to a realtor. My daughter isn't a realtor. I'm not on the EDC board or the PCBIC board as a local expert. It's just me, making sure that everything I do is in keeping with the rules of this community, the one I love and respect. At the last Board of Commissioners meeting, we heard how Philip Allen, the current EDC PCBIC board president, to which Jay Poindexter is a member, made comments about being made up of noble and unselfish volunteers who have dignity and integrity. He is now before you asking for a special use permit after running a commercial enterprise for a year and a half. Be careful who you give your blind trust to. And to know that we as county residents and taxpayers are watching as those whom you have representing us are continuing to try to hit a lick with a crooked stick. Trust lost is almost never regained was spoken at the last session as well. We have serious concerns when an EDC PCBIC board member is personally skirting the rules rather than setting the examples for the citizens of Person County in his private enterprises. Now you may see why the Poindexter Properties LLC purchased the property through Admiral Properties, because the previous owner had lost trust, which was not regained in them. I appreciate all the staff's time and efforts to ensure that the rules are being followed and applied equitably when they withdrew the agricultural deferment in December of last year. It is telling that it took 3 months for them to file the proper paperwork to request this special use permit. If you take a look at it, it's handwritten. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out. Please continue to do your proper oversight of their property, their enterprise, and its valuation in January this next year. Thank you for your time as you now determine what respect and trust to extend to the Poindexters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for me about anything that I have testified on? Hearing none, thank you.
Chairman Powell, how much time allotment did we give to each individual?
It doesn't apply.
Doesn't apply.
No, sir. Next
Just
speaker.
open meeting. Okay.
Next speaker we have is Adam Bridgefora. Bridgefora, sorry. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak for a few minutes. I am one of the lot owners or property owners on Pfeiffer Lane. And I've never done this before, so I'm a little bit nervous, but general contractor out of Raleigh, former Marine, and a guy of principle. My reason to stand here is not to totally fight and try to shut down the event center. I'm excited to see growth, as I'm part of growth in Raleigh and Wake County more so than here. But two of the conditions struck me personally. Condition one, public health and safety. I did meet with Jay. I was one of the property owners that met with Jay 2 weeks ago, and Jay was very kind to talk through some of the things that were our concerns. And having left that meeting and speaking with other homeowners on the road there, the things that we continue to struggle with as far as public health and safety go are that Pfeiffer Lane is a private road. It is paid for. Its repairs and maintenance are paid for by the 6 homeowners that that live on Pfeiffer Lane. Who's to pay for those maintenance costs and increased wear and tear when a commercial entity uses that road for access? Kids, at least 4 of the 6 homeowners have young children under the age of 15. If my kids are out playing on the street during, after, or before one of these events, alcohol served. If you go back to, I'm not sure how, I'm terrible with technology, but going back to, I've got this map where the proposed parking is that Jay has mentioned he is amicable to moving. You can leave the property in question and drive directly onto our private road that is owned by the 6 individual landowners without encumbrance. There are no barriers in this conversation. We've talked about a 2 or 3 foot hedgerow. Our concern being kids, life safety, those sorts of things. We've talked about requesting something a bit more substantial. Alcohol is being served based on a per use permit basis. That can be a safety issue, especially when it meshes with our private property. And then again, a private road with a single lane in, single lane out. How does this affect emergency vehicle access, egress, coming, going, that sort of thing? Regarding condition number 1, my request is additional restrictive conditions. I would like a berm of 3 foot high on this property in question, and a continuous hedgerow of 8 to 10 foot hollies or something that not only prevents headlights from shining down, kids are trying to sleep at night, when headlights come on, but also safety. Much harder to drive through a 3 foot berm than it is through a small 2 or 3 foot hedgerow as described. Driveway, I'd like restrictive conditions asking for a separate connector to the main road. What if we need to get out or emergency vehicles need to come or go? When a wedding party lets loose and there's 50 cars, that leaves us waiting behind 50 cars to get out. What about emergency vehicles coming in? Septic. In the septic permit A3161, which is the approved septic permit for this property, it allows for 3 days of venue use up to 4 hours. I would like to see that defined in the conditions. And additionally, it speaks nothing of overnight stays, so I would like to ask that it's considered that no camping RVs or overnight rental of the premises be allowed, therefore ensuring that the septic is not overloaded. Condition 2, noise ordinance, is a concern, both for our families, our welfare, our kids. Jay, in our meeting last week, mentioned, and I asked if it was okay to ask, he self-imposed with this event center a 10 p.m. Event end hour as opposed to the county's 11 o'clock. I asked if it would be okay if I asked for that, and he said yes. So I'd like to see that written as a condition of this special use permit. So the lights and the vehicle traffic and the music are down and over so that our families can rest and enjoy our properties at night. Just to recap, I'm a fan of growth. It brings tax dollars and revenue. It brings new housing construction for folks like me. It brings jobs to the community. I'd like to see not only a visibility but a safety barrier for our families. Again, that's a 3 foot hedgerow, or excuse me, a 3 foot berm and a 10 foot hedgerow, something that cars can't drive through if someone's been consuming alcohol. I'd like to see that 10 p.m. event center or event ending, no camping RVs or overnight stays, and speak to the septic permit that it would be adhered to. Lastly would be the driveway connection to make sure that we all have access to our properties without encumbrance. Again, I'm thankful for what Jay's brought to the community with his wife. I'm thankful to be a part of this community and get to spend some time here at Hyco Lake. Thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you.
Any questions for me?
Not at the moment. I don't, yeah, we're okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Christina Lyleson.
I have my Exhibit A and Exhibit B. This is my daughter Annika, she's 5, and my daughter Ayla, she's 8. We purchased one of the properties before the event center changed hands, or before the farm changed hands and it became an event center. Respected commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I'd like to lay out the significant safety risks the event center poses to our residential community if proper safeguards are not mandated. I was not able to meet Jay last week because I was at a Girl Scouts leader training at Camp Mary Atkinson, so I could lead Ayla's Girl Scout troop and we could have a nice sleepover. I have observed several cars at numerous events driving across the unmarked grass to leave the event via the private road when I was out and about. Our small and unlit private road was designated for limited residential use only. Yet this venue plans to drastically increase traffic from large events like weddings and concerts. This raises the potential for serious vehicle versus pedestrian accidents involving our children playing outdoors. Many guests will also be impaired from alcohol consumption, heightening dangers that a 2 or 3 foot hedge would not mitigate. Furthermore, the increased traffic volumes from even a single event could exceed our road's safe capacity onto or off of Samora Road. You know, it's pretty fast, so you can't always get out or get in when you want to. Obstructing emergency vehicles' access to our homes in life-threatening situations. We have already observed entrance and exit congestions from events since the venue began operating at a decreased frequency than what they're looking to increase to. For these reasons, we and the other neighbors of the landing request that additional conditions be added to the approval of the special use permit. Most crucially, a permanent substantial physical buffer, like a densely planted, earthen berm with mature hedges must separate the road from the venue. As there is no clear parking area, you know, whether it's going to be one place or another, I observed lots of people parking just on Sunday for an event, and they, you know, park here or there. This would need to be for the entire length of Pfeiffer Lane so we can protect our children when we're out walking our dog or playing Frisbee. This physical barrier would block vehicle access to the private road, it would reduce noise, and it would help with the light trespass. But as you're banking down, I mean, the cars are parked kind of up, so you're going to see the lights. Additionally, we ask that the commission require a secondary dedicated entrance exit, similar to what Adam mentioned. Like, I'm concerned about if you know, there's a fire or someone gets hurt, water, that sort of thing, it happens, that they might not be able to get into or out of because of the event center and the traffic associated with it. And finally, we're requesting a strict noise operating hours. Since this isn't a residential community, we're asking that the events are ended by 9 p.m. so that people who are moseying their way down to the car, like, people don't have to rush. They'll be out by 10 in the lights, and that should all be completed by 10 o'clock. We want to work cooperatively, while as parents, resident health and safety is our top priority. These protection measures are essential to reduce the risk related to having an event center operating in a residential community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Matt Lyleson.
Good evening, Matt Lyleson. I have some handouts to illustrate some additional information about the proposed site. Thank you. I am spouse to Christina, neighbor to Adam, who spoke up here as well, neighbor to Jay. Esteemed commissioners, thank you for the opportunity here. Again, as Adam stressed, I think we like to see growth in the community. That growth needs to be balanced with the appropriate safety measures to ensure the protection of our neighbors, our community, and children, as Christina highlighted. So I'd like to walk through some specific examples
as to why some of the proposed additional conditions that we are asking for are so important. If you look on page 2, these were photographs taken yesterday in an event that was held at the center. As cars started to come onto that, you can see for the grass parking area, and respect that Jay is looking at perhaps relocating that to another side. Parking signs very small, which create confusion for drivers coming in. So we observed several cars already going on the private Pfeiffer lane, up and down, trying to figure out where to go. Additionally, like anyone, cars looking for, I would say, a quick getaway at the end of the event, like I do. So I'm going to aim for the nearest way out. And because the venue site is higher up than Pfeiffer Lane, it's not sure that a 2-foot hedge in the original proposal is going to cut it for that. If you look on page 3, then, some additional photographs just to highlight the shared egress-ingress from Samora Road, which is right at the front there. And again, highlighted where some of the parking signs are, and as well the location of the septic field. Now we can say, and Jermaine, I can't remember the first gentleman's name who spoke against this, like it would be nice that if we didn't need to have all these rules and additional conditions on this. But also wanted to highlight on page 4 is that a quick research and quick call to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission found out that only one permit since a venue has been operated has been issued for alcohol, even though several advertised events for people to pay and come at the venue have advertised alcohol for that. So with this, we are requesting the additional conditions be added to the special use permit. I think Adam and Christina both laid out those pretty succinctly. I think some of the nuances, but substantial berm. I think in my handout it says 4-foot berm with 8-foot hedges on that. I think Adam said 3-foot and 10-foot. Holly bushes on there. I think you get the point of that, to protect the road, to protect our children and neighbors, in addition to the light pollution. Also, relocation of the parking lot, which Jay said he was amenable to. We're asking for on that. Christina also highlighted additional stipulations for the noise to make sure that it is operating within a tighter degree of control than Person County permits. And then also, I think Adam mentioned the septic tank and ensuring that the use of this is aligned to that and have that codified. Thank you for your time. Any questions for me?
Don't seem to be. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
There's nothing further there. Does that conclude the list?
Yes, sir,
Y'all
that
done
was the
there?
last speaker.
Can we ask Mr. Poindexter some questions?
We'll do that in the next point.
Okay.
So at this point, we need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public meeting, Chairman Powell.
We do have a motion to close the hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Item number 7 is consideration to grant or deny the request by the applicant. So we'll have a motion, and then we can discuss which would be proper.
Mr. Chairman, I asked Mr. Poindexter to come up before we make a motion.
I was going to ask some questions,
Well,
Yes.
but
that's what
I
I'm
was
asking now. So which is proper?
I think you ought to, if you want more information, do the information.
All right, let's go. We'll do it. So the request is for Mr. Poindexter.
Yes, sir. Mr. Poindexter, I just wanted to, I think we've heard several concerns about their kids and the protection of their kids, and you have some really small ones that are there and they're walking, whatever. And you've heard some of the things that they would like to add, to improve the safety, if you will. I just didn't want to ask you on those items. I mean, is this the first time you've heard about it, or?
Well, the burn thing is, I mean, we talked about that the other Saturday, but I'm looking at the expense of what I can do. I mean, I'm already limited out on this, but, you know, at the same time, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But they keep on saying something about the drive. If you notice on that map, one of them pictures they had to take of the entranceway, you got a guardrail on both sides of it. It runs all the way down. That's on the 420 mark of the Hyco Lake. You can't cut a road on Hyco. I mean, you can't cut a road through that pond at the bottom or through the bottom to go through the side of that guardrail. I mean, that's all state maintained now. So, because our land is sitting back behind the 420, where you see it on the map now. So, but yeah, I mean, I do what I need to do to, you know, keep the safety up. I mean, we're going to block off, you know, we're going to put up, you know, no parking down this way, you know, put up a sign on the post right there. Don't even go down the Pfeiffer Lane part of it. Just right that way you enter in on the old 57.
As far as the other concern they had, it was the wear and tear of the road.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So you got the old 57 right there, Highway 57 that they just abandoned, because my office is sitting on part of it. But it's the old road is still right there. I mean, that's what that pavement's sitting on, is the old, it's pavement under pavement. So, I mean, I don't see a problem with it, but if it's a problem then, hey.
Is it state maintained?
No, it's not. They abandoned it back 2014, I think, or 15, something like that. They abandoned it then when I built the office there. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the only road in and out. I mean, there's nothing I can change that. I mean, it's there. But, yeah, if maintaining the road, if that comes to be an issue, yeah, just tell me. I mean, we don't have to have a letter or something. Just say, I'm right there every day, you know, talk to me. So let me know if your concerns, and I can see if we can deal with it together.
Well,
And also, back to this something else, I got permits when I did that stuff. I got building permits, I got electrical, and I got plumbing. So, Mr. C, I just want to go ahead and tell him that. So, y'all can check that out, too.
Didn't say you didn't.
All right, Mr. Chairman, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've got several here. Is either right-of-way lighted, either side, on your side and
Nobody's lit.
Neither one?
We had exterior lights out there. We got 2 poles with lights on them out there, but I also have probably 100 night lights, like on steps and landscaping lights. Probably got 100 and some of those out there. I mean, it's bright up there, and I got them timers set to cut off at 11 o'clock too. So, but yeah, that's the only thing. But the roadway, no, it's nothing lit on the roadway, on the driveways or Pfeiffer Lane.
Okay.
I think one of the neighbors have 2 lamps out there, lamp posts out there. But that's the only thing I think of lit.
Okay, what is the size of the event center itself?
We can, when the fire marshal and Dale come out there, we can have up to 121 people on site. The new septic system we're putting in is 181 people. So we're going above and beyond. Just, you know, you don't want no problems down the road with that. So, but that's what that comes to.
Question number 3, will the events be held inside the center involving music? Will the music be inside or outside?
Yeah, music is usually inside because our plugins for the bands or the DJs are inside upstairs. And then outside we try to, that's just like us socially sit down in the chair, let's sit at the fire pit.
Sit down, smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, something like
shoot
that. Yeah.
Right. Distance from your roadway to the turnoff to Pfeiffer Lane?
It's right there at my office, the Remax office. God, I don't know, 280 some. It's on that, I don't know if I can get this back up. It's on the site plan. The distance, I know the distance from the building to the other properties is 285 feet.
Make sure the link's here.
Yeah, right there. All right, the distance, you see that line going down to the, you see, I can't see it. I mean, it's just blind. You ain't got that with you, do you? You see that line right there coming down to the highway?
This right here?
Yeah, that one right there.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go back to the aerial. Oops. One more. Is that better?
No, it shows in the site plan, it shows a measurement from the building to the highway.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Pfeiffer Lane right there, so it kind of gives you a guesstimate, you would say.
Can't read it.
Yeah, at this scale.
Yeah, it's right, but it's a measurement right there on that, where it goes at that curve right there. It's a measurement showing us back to the 420 line. I don't know, I don't have it in front of me because I hit all my sight.
Either way, it's a good distance from the turnoff to go to the private homes. 200 feet is right
yeah.
at ways.
I wish I knew how to do it.
I don't know how people could miss your turn when the building is right there in front of you.
Where they're following the pavement, they're not following the gravel. See, the driveway going up to the event center is gravel,
Right.
not pavement. The David and Sherry's house, which is behind me, theirs is gravel too, but Pfeiffer Lane, which curves to the right and then to the left, is paved. And so they're following the paved part instead of just jumping right there. That's why we put signs up, parking, guest drop off, trying to navigate. And it's kind of,
To make larger
Yeah,
signs.
because it goes in a circle. If you
Yeah.
go in there and you take a left, you go up there and you can circle all the way out, drop the guest off, then go into the parking lot. But if we move the parking lot, they can go up the hill and just go into the parking lot and then walk up there.
You could add larger signs also.
Yeah, we could do that, but then we can sign ordinance.
Another point of interest here is typically, from the years I've been to events like that, you have like law enforcement, somebody like out in the roadways directing traffic.
No, we ain't got that big. We ain't had, we just had 120 people, 4 on Proper Road together. You got about 40, 50 cars, But we never had any law there for it. You usually got an anniversary, birthday party, something like that. It's not, you got a wedding. Last year we did 7 weddings, but we did 15 birthday parties.
Right.
For people over 70. You don't have, a large drinking crowd or blowing out the place. I would think the event center at first was all about weddings, but then I find out it's about birthdays and all this. And then we have a thing called the Alamance Community College come up and did a cooking thing. They sold 30 tickets for $130 a piece. And the cooking school did a 5-course meal and all, sold the tickets. I'm sure they was raising money, but, you get 30 people. That's all they sold for, that was it. So it's small little things. Everything's not a big tent buster or blown out, but it'd be 50, 60 people. Like I got Duke University comes over there and they had 2 seminars there. So, and they was only 30 people, just in the middle of the week.
So do you have like daytime and nighttime events?
Yeah, sometimes it falls in that. I got companies that come out of Virginia and they had, they come over there for training, off-site training. We'd be there from like 9 to 3 and they have a catered lunch come in. And they're using local people here to use the caterers and all. And they was talking about the alcohol permit. I don't have a permit from alcohol. I don't sell alcohol. You got your caterer's responsible for your ABC permits, not J. Pondexter. So.
The main thing that they're concerned about is safety, of course, safety. When you talk about the burn, you don't have a problem making the burn a little bit bigger. You already know the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Noise ordinance, 10 o'clock.
The burn, I was thinking on that too, and it keeps on going in my mind about we're fixing to dig out for the septic. So we're going to end up with some dirt left over there, and I can use that in there, and I can see if Jimmy or somebody's got some clean field dirt Mike can use to make the berm in there. At the same time, we're doing the septic field, because that's why I could gain the extra dirt in. If you look right, I don't know if I can get this thing to do it or not. Let's see if I can get it to do it. There we go. Right there, that right there is my septic field for this unit. We're going to have a septic field right here and right here for this. Right now, the septic field is right here. But I don't want to do anything to disturb that tree. We're hoping, right now, we got the septic the other week, we tapped it right here coming around this side of the building. But we got to be far enough away from that tree. I'm not killing that tree to put a septic in. So we're going to catch on this, we're going to catch on to the line right here where the tank is at and bring it down to this field here. So we should have enough dirt I can build. I don't know about no 4-foot berm or something like that. I'm probably get it up 3 and then put a bush on top of it. That'll give us 6. That'd be 6 foot total. If that'll work, unless y'all want some different trees.
I'm curious as to how we got
holly bushes, and the way I said holly bush is the same reason I did it at my office in town. They stick you. Nobody will walk through them once they grow together. So
I'm curious as to how we got to this point. You'd already been in operation.
I come out of land use. I was in land use until I built did the landscaping up there, and the parking lot and driveway. So now my land is too small to stay in land use. So now I come out of deferred, which I'll be paying my fair share of taxes and all, which I got my permits when I did anything up out, and that's it. I know it's coming out of land use, going as for special use. It's exactly what it is, because I don't have enough land to stay in land use right now.
Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good?
No further questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and move the motion with the staff recommendations. I hereby move to approve special use permit SUP-03-24 for the Pond Extra Event Center within our zone property with the following conditions. The applicant continues to obtain all required permits from Person County, the state of North Carolina, and all agencies to achieve construction, operation, and maintenance of subject property. 2, the Person County noise ordinance is followed. Number 3, the applicant or tenant installs a continuous landscape hedge at a minimum height of 2 feet at full majority along the eastern boundary of the proposed parking lot that screens the parking lot from the adjacent land uses. And 4, the applicant or tenant shall provide continuing property maintenance that does not impact adjacent properties.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Discussion. Is everyone content with those stipulations or requirements there? Is everyone in agreement with the motion as stated with those additional requirements?
Great points. Glad you brought it up.
Now, how clearly are we defining safety? That's
Mr.
a
Chairman,
priority with me.
Mr. Chairman, this is the staff, the planning and zoning staff recommendations.
I understand that.
And that is my motion. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll call the question.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. At this point in our meeting, we do have informal comments, a 10-minute segment set aside for public comment during our meetings. And Madam Clerk, do we have anyone signed up to speak?
We do. We have 8 individuals, but I just need clarification because 4 of those individuals spoke during public hearing comment. So I just need to clarify if they wish to speak during informal comments as well.
Absolutely.
So Mr. Seep is a yes. Ms. Lightson, Mr. Lightson,
Excuse me?
you're signed up for informal comments as well?
I think we didn't understand the procedure, so that was just for the previous motion.
Okay.
So we're good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bridgeforth?
I'd like to speak for this moment.
Okay.
Is that now?
When I call your name, yes, sir. So we have 6 individuals.
Well, we'll go with 2 minutes apiece on
Okay.
on each of those.
All right, so the first speaker we have is Alan Booker. And if I can instruct IT to please set the time clock for 2 minutes.
This is going to take me 2 minutes and a little bit, just so you know. Just a few seconds more.
We'll respect the others that are coming after you.
Say it again?
We'll respect the others that are limited to 2 minutes as well.
Well, I'm going to
Thank
chew you out, so you won't be smiling in a couple of minutes, but good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity. The last time I spoke here a couple of weeks ago, I thanked you for your time. I'm a polite person. What was I thanking you for? I got home and I thought to myself, why did I say thank you? Did I thank you for not listening to Person County residents? For not responding to their requests for information? For our not being able to address you as individuals in an open meeting? By letting us articulate our deepest, heartfelt concerns into a complete vacuum? This situation has all the attributes of a twilight zone where light cannot penetrate, and even worse, is actively deflected. In the last two meetings, the cell tower application process was unanimously accepted with no discussion. A rail yard issue was spoken to and appeared to be shrouded in issues of secrecy and insider knowledge. There were multiple forms available for comment for or against as usual. One individual came forward. I wonder why only one individual. These were big projects. Most likely because just like the Dominion gas project, nobody had been informed in a timely manner. At least didn't have the opportunity to discuss it with you guys. This appears to be your method of passing important projects quickly without public input or the possibility of public scrutiny. Either, although to be very clear, there is no true participation when our representatives refuse to engage in conversation during these meetings. Why? It might take time and be difficult. It might be difficult, but man up, step up to the plate. By refusing to engage in conversations with your constituents, you demonstrate your fear of accountability or, at worst, weakness. Is that why you are seemingly unwilling to articulate your positions regarding these issues? Why? Your constituents do have the expectation that trust can be built with you, our representatives in government, by acknowledging weaknesses when you reflect upon the flaws inherent in your working process. I am not naive. I understand how complicated these issues are, but that cannot be an excuse for stonewalling your constituents. I am deeply disturbed by the broken nature of your working process. It clearly demonstrates democracy at its worst.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker we have is Joseph DiBiase.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for giving me your time. My name is Joseph DiBiase. I live at 53 Dorothy Brooks, adjacent to Project Log. Today is May 6th, 2024. It has been over 7 months since the due diligence has commenced on the Woodsdale Rail laydown yard. As of today, we still have no proper county zoning, no state permits, no state approvals of construction, no state approvals of business operations, no DOT approvals, and no word from Norfolk Southern Railroad on future rail lines or constructions. No approvals, no applications, zero. What we do have is an illegal illegal roadway through private property, an illegally built containment mat, and clearing of county land beyond state expectations, all brought to us by a contractor from out of state. Other than one commissioner, I have heard from no one regarding these issues to my town. The residents of Wooddale would like to know when our county officials will resolve these issues and put Project Log onto its proper course. We expect a real answer. The response of, "It will be wonderful when we can tell you," is long gone. The ship has sailed. Will Project Log exist or not? We'd like to know who is going to represent us, who's going to represent the county, and put this back on track. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is John Seat.
Like your first speaker, I may run a little over, but Joe was 32 seconds short, so I'll take his 32 seconds. Congratulations, Michelle, on the minutes and the clerk job. So my comments aren't negative to you, but I looked over the minutes from the last meeting, and it was missing some details. I liked what was captured on my speech, as well as Joe's and others. But Philip Allen started with a positive message, quote unquote, where he emphasized the character of the current board members of the EDC and the PCBIC board. how they're all volunteers, they're honored and privileged to make contributions to a place that they call home. He further stated that their motivations are, quote, noble and unselfish, and he reiterated it again for emphasis, and that they are freely giving of their time and their wisdom to make Person County a better place for all of us, having dignity and integrity and working very hard. Lastly, he stated that the boards have been joined at the hip for years. He's referring to Board of Commissioners, PCBIC, and the EDC. I just covered the noble and unselfishness of Mr. Poindexter buying the property for commercial purpose and taking a year and a half to get here, not on permits. It has to do with, and by the way, to reiterate or to challenge what he said, it has to do with that was an auxiliary purpose for that barn. He's using it as primary, so anyway. So that brings me to Philip Allen. The last meeting, he was a deer in headlights in front of you guys. He's been president of the board for years, yet he hadn't a clue on how to do the budget process that all your departments have to follow to get county funds every year. He's been obviously not having to follow the same process that everybody else has. I found this shocking. It was profound. And as the head and the participant on many boards and committees, that was astounding. I also, well, by the way, Chairman Powell, I appreciate your comments last meeting. Those were deep, they were bold, it was a difficult statement, and had a lot of more honesty than the citizens of the county have seen in a long time. I got an opportunity to speak to Donald Long after a few days after the meeting, and he disclosed the reason for Liz Bradshaw's removal and failure as a board member of the EDC. And it, according to him, was not due to her hard questions, but she had the nerve to ask them before she made friends. I was like, really? So people have to make friends and develop relationships before they're allowed to engage in the real matters before the boards and committees of this county? This is shocking and appalling. And that's the reason why you have the train wreck that you have at Woodsdale. It's the reason why you're going to have to make some hard decisions coming up. The citizens are watching. We're not, like your first speaker, we're not naive. And I hope you start a dialogue with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Andrea Childers.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Andrea Childers. I've been a resident of Person County for 31 years. I come here to ask the board to reverse their zoning of a decision they made on December 4, 2023. If you choose not to reverse that decision, then it is imperative that you ask Dominion Energy to get an environmental impact study as well as a stormwater runoff study. Before Dominion is allowed to begin construction, we also ask for the safety of all the neighbors in the area that wells be tested now and be tested for the life of the facility. On April 11th, a friend of mine spoke with a county commissioner who told her he didn't have to listen to her because he listened to the expert. Well, obviously, that is just not true, because on December 4th, experts stood before you and they warned you and they explained to you the dangers of building the Mariah Energy Center. But you disregarded all of the expert opinions and voted to rezone despite the testimony of farmers, a doctor, an insurance agent, a real estate agent, chemists, engineers, biologists, environmentalists, lawyers, and teachers. In fact, the only people you have listened to work for the fossil fuel industry. These so-called experts have a vested interest in building the Mariah Energy Center. It's like putting the fox in charge of building the hen house. Remember the 1950s when the government listened to the tobacco industries when they told us that smoking cigarettes was good for our health? How about when we listened to Purdue Pharma when they told us that oxycodone was not addictive? How has that worked out for American citizens?
Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Adam Bridgeforth.
Thanks again for your time. As I understand it, none of the concerns of the homeowners of Pfeiffer Lane were, although considered briefly, were put into place. And as I sit and listen to, is that correct? As I sit and listen to the other people speaking, I just find it grossly negligent on your all's part to listen to the concerns of the people of the community that ultimately are building community and working in this community, and you all have over and over and over again, don't know all the circumstances, but there's clearly some questionable decisions being made. I'd like to see your kids playing next to a venue that's serving alcohol without any division, and see you approve without any additional safety measures put into place. I don't think that would happen. So I find it very interesting that you guys can take the opinions and safety of your community with very little regard. I appreciate your time.
The next speaker we have is Joan Healy.
Good evening. My current residence is in the city of Durham, but I previously lived in Rougemont, and for over 30 years I've owned land at Potluck Farm Road. My land I hope to build on when I retire this year is 1.8 miles from the MEC facility that you rezoned from rural conservation, as in the city and county comprehensive plan, to general industrial, counter to the recommendations of where to locate industrial and commercial facilities in the county. According to those who are monitoring the area in this pre-construction phase of the MEC, the runoff and the siltation standards are reportedly already exceeding limits. I came to that planning meeting on December 4th, the rezoning hearing, together with 350 concerned citizens, and many more meetings to get answers to questions on safety and impact on our community. I was offended that a member of this county commissioner board claimed that we were paid to show up for the December 4th hearing. I was not paid to be at that meeting or any meeting on the impact of the MEC facility, and I ask for formal and public acknowledgement that that statement doesn't apply to my efforts. I pay taxes on my land. I shop and contribute to the Roxborough and Person County community. I contribute and participate in civic activities in this county. I also work in public health to improve and protect health of pregnant and birthing people, infants and children, families in North Carolina and throughout the U.S. I, like my neighbors in Rougemont and beyond, have a right to continue to call for answers to our questions about this facility and the impact on our health and well-being. It's not just my backyard, it's our backyard. You asked for good guidance in making decisions that affect this community. I would suggest that the questions, should you ask them, and the answers would result in protecting the health of our community in Person County. I ask that construction on this facility not proceed without answering those questions and without an environmental impact study. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 8 on the agenda is discussion, adjustment, or approval of the consent agenda as presented to you. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, Chairman Powell.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. New business, item number 9 is Person County Schools fiscal year 25 budget request. Dr. Rodney Peterson.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening,
fellow
sir.
Commissioners. Is the presentation, there we go.
I'd like to recognize our board chair, Frida Tillman, and Philip Gillis, our co-chair, is with us, me tonight, as well as Julie Masson, who's our chief finance officer. So all and any questions go directly to them. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you to give a little update on our budget process. Like you, it's been a difficult spring for us, and had to make some pretty tough decisions as it relates to the request that we bring for you tonight. So please be mindful that the request that we have before you has not been haphazardly put together, I would say. I think our board has done a pretty good job to cut as much as we can where we can. Just a little update on enrollment. I think this is important because we start I believe it's next year, we will start from the General Assembly having our budget, our average daily membership calculated differently than how it's calculated now. But if you look over the last, 6 years, 7 years, outside of the COVID years, I don't see anything statistically significant either way, either a decrease or increase. It is important about the 20 and 40 day because that is where we get our funding from the state. And in some instances, like this year, we have more kids now than we did past the 40th school day. One of the things that our board had to take into account this year is pandemic funding. I'm not sure when yours ends, but ours in September. And so, people have been calling the pandemic cliff. We've been preparing for it, but just want to give you some idea of what we received and how we've used it. You can see we received roughly $17 million from the federal government. 20% of that money had to be set aside for learning loss. And so we had to create a learning loss plan for the state for which they approve, and they audit our funds based on what we said we were going to do with those monies. We have used over $6 million to upgrade our heating and AC and air quality in our schools. You'll notice, I think, on a couple of the CIPs, we still need chillers. A lot of these are air handlers that we've done. The biggest project that we've undertaken with this and is currently hopefully finishing up at the end of the month has been the high school. We've upgraded all the units at the high school and actually included air in the gym that didn't previously have it. The biggest thing that we've done is try to offset some of the things, especially during the pandemic, that you guys would normally fund through the local budget. Up until last year, we had 2 years where we funded the technology CIP request with these funds, roughly $1.2 million. And then obviously the first year that we had the money, we had to upgrade our facilities with all the required DHHS needs that we needed to facilitate in order to bring our kids back into the building. So be more than happy to talk more about how we've used these funds and when we have more time to discuss. The biggest thing here is when we're looking at losing this kind of funding, our board had to make some pretty strong decisions, and our board adopted a zero-based budgeting model as they began their process. And we also looked at tools like what is our return on investment on the money that we're spending. And if it's not getting the investment that we need and it's not helping the students and we didn't have data to prove it, then that were some of the things that we looked at as possible cuts for our school system. If you would, I believe they have this as a PDF, is that correct? So you can look and see in your document the things that at the end of the day that our board, when looking at the local budget, has cut. Our board cut roughly $3.5 million out of our last year's operating budget in order to get to the area that we have now. The state required us as part of the learning loss program, or as part of the pandemic, is that we have to look at learning loss and whether or not we are making year-to-year recovery. 0 is not good. So anything positive on this is for us in recovering learning loss is important. And you can see that we've done a pretty good job in starting to recover some of the learning loss that we have. This year's class this year's graduating class was in 8th grade. And it has taken us 3 years to find some of these students when we lost them during the pandemic recovery. They either went and moved somewhere, they moved to a family member, the family up and moved altogether as a displacement, and we didn't have any knowledge of it. So a lot of work has gone in to meet the pandemic recovery requests from the state, but also our staff has worked really hard to facilitate the increase of our recovery with our students. As you can see, 100% of our grade levels have met their multi-year improvement targets, and we're on target to meet our progress towards recovery thresholds that the state has set for us. And we will continue to update this chart each year as we get our data. The biggest thing, again, is the cut of the $3.5 million. And so in our budget request, some of the highlights, we put this together before the state has started their discussion. We don't know where they will land on their raises, but this is the biannual raise that is in the current budget, that if the state doesn't secure a budget, this is what we would definitely have to do for our employees. The biggest thing, if you look at benefits is our average of 48%, and I know Ms. Kathy can speak to this in your HR department, but if you have an employee that makes $30,000, you add 48%, and that's pretty much what their salary is going to be. Not that our folks don't deserve it, but the sustainability and where the benefits were when I began 28 years ago, it's kind of hard to swallow when we were once at 3%, and the total was 12%, now we're at 48%. The local budget request appropriates $2.6 million in unrestricted funds to 18 charter schools. Most of us know of 2, but we provide funding for 18 charter schools. North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, again, will have a new funding model starting next year, and we'll be receiving funding on the second month of our ADM, and that is important. That means a lot of child find is going to have to happen in the first 40 days for us. And we will not get credit for students that come in after Christmas. Most of you haven't been involved in the school system. There's 2 major times that people move in, summer and Christmas break. And starting next year, we won't get credit for those students at the end of the year. The General Assembly will also continue funding supplemental funds for teacher compensation that's allocated as an additional supplement. That's what I call low wealth fund. We're still a school system that receives low wealth funding. You are gracious in providing our staff, certified staff, with 10% supplement. With this low wealth, we average roughly 14%, so that makes us pretty competitive. There is some suggested changes to this funding formula, and I don't be quite candid with you. I've been through 3 meetings, and I still don't have a grasp on what they're trying to do, but I do know that it's a positive for us because next year we've gotten a little bit more money, and because your supplement is a percent and it's not static, it helps us in being able to meet our funding targets and not being considered supplanting. So we appreciate that. Outside of that, I'll take the rest of the time for questions.
Okay, board member questions? No questions, but I will say I don't envy you and your board because in past years I've witnessed budgeting, but nothing like this budget that you're faced with here, because you have all the mandates that you have to comply with, and some of those are reflected in county budgeting, like our salaries, but others aren't. So you therefore don't have a choice, and so that's where the rub comes.
Yeah, they made some tough choices in February, for sure, especially with the consolidate or transferring of 3-5 students from north to north end so that we can maximize raw resources at north end. That was a pretty big move that they had to make, but necessary to do the things we need to do for students.
Well, we appreciate all you're doing. I think this board historically, in the past few years, has supported public education in this county strongly, and so all points considered, when we begin these discussions in earnest later. And
Please call us if you have questions.
certainly will. Thank you for
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Item number 10 on the agenda is Piedmont Community College fiscal year 25 budget request. Dr. Senegal.
Good evening, Commissioners, and I think there's a short presentation that will accompany my remarks. What I wanted to do was start out, there are about 4 things that I wanted to cover during this time period. So if we'll go to the, I'm doing slides, very good. I wanted to first introduce our new Chief Financial Officer, Vice President of Administrative Services, Dr. Reggie Browning. If he'll wave to the audience, or if you'd like to come up here and actually be on camera, you're welcome to do that as well. But we are very excited to have Dr. Browning join us. He's from Spartanburg, South Carolina. He's taught as a business faculty member in the South Carolina area. He's familiar with our enterprise systems that we use. He's a certified public accountant, very active in his church, active in civic organizations, and so we're very excited about having him join the Pacer family. So I just wanted to make sure that you had a chance to see our new CFO. The next thing that I'd like to do is talk a little bit about some of our enrollment numbers at the college. And so one of the things that we're increasingly doing is focusing on adult learners within our community. And so this next slide talks a little bit about this target population of residents who are between the ages of 18 and 44. And the analysis that we've done, what we've determined is that there are over 6,000 Person County residents who've completed some college but don't have a high-quality credential of value. And that's where the real opportunity for us, in addition to our partnerships with the public schools and our college and career promise classes, where we are on track right now to save residents over $700,000 in college costs that they would have incurred had we not been in partnership with our public schools. But the other audience that we've got to increasingly spend time on is working with our adult learners to make sure that we're bringing them back into the fold. And so you'll continue to see a greater emphasis on bringing back those adult learners. That's part of the context for overall enrollment. And so I know it's a busy slide. I'm an educator, I can't help it. I get excited by some of this data, but the real thing that I want you to take away from this is the trend line that we're seeing in overall enrollment. Statewide, remember we're a system of 58 community colleges, and system-wide they're seeing a 5% increase in enrollments, but we beat that number, and actually our enrollments overall are at 7%. And in particular for our short-term training programs, a lot of the programs that you're going to see that are being relocated to our chat facility, that's increasingly where we're seeing adult learners return to our institution. It's to pick up those shorter-term credentials that have an immediate impact. For example, you'll notice in our spring enrollment highlights, remember Piedmont Community College is part of the North Carolina Cybersecurity Network, and so we're preparing people for those cyber careers, and we're happy to show that we've seen an increase in our FTE in that area as we prepare people for those high-end careers. You'll also notice that the other growth area for us is around healthcare and around nursing in particular. So for example, in our associate degree nursing program, because of the quality of the instruction that my nursing faculty are able to put out and the pass rate that has improved dramatically over the last 5 years, the North Carolina Nursing Board allowed us to increase the total number of ADN or associate degree nursing students that we were able to serve. In addition, what's not reflected on here is that we were also able this spring to start a licensed practical nursing program as well. And again, that is based on the quality of the instruction that's offered. So we were able to have a start class this spring of over 40 licensed practical nursing students. And that's a program that will take them about 18 months to complete, but that is at the request of both Person Memorial Hospital and Duke University Hospitals, where many of our graduates are employed. So I wanted to give you that context about the growth that we have, not only in our curriculum programs, which are the degree granting side of the house, but also in the short term. And so we're beating those numbers, we're pulling people in, we're being more strategic with our marketing efforts, and it's starting to pay off. You're certainly starting to see that. You'll also notice that there's an alignment of what we're doing. It's very consistent with what the Person County Economic Development Group is focused on around retaining existing industry. We've had good conversations with the transition of the GKN employees. Nearly every one of those employees have found other employment within our region, and that's because of those good connections that we have. And so we want to continue to make those investments. The other thing that I wanted to share was around our operating request. You've seen that detail in your budgeting meetings, in your retreat sessions, but I wanted to give you some of the highlights of things that are different in our request this year than from previous years, and it kind of falls into two buckets. On the left side of the screen, at a high level, those operating requests are a little different around salaries. What we've attempted to do at the college is to align our county-paid employees with what state employees are going to earn. So for example, we know that there's the second half of a 2.5% increase that our state employees are going to receive, and so we've baked that into our request for operating so that we can keep all of our facility services, our groundskeeping, our housekeeping, all those folks on the same salary increase schedule so that we don't create large gaps between those who support our institution and those who teach and are on staff. The second area that we've seen some increases are in the area of medical insurance premiums. We're seeing an increasing cost that's going up, and as a result, we're having to cover a greater amount in cost. It's very similar to what my predecessor just mentioned. But we're also, and not surprisingly, we're also seeing increased costs from our contractors around waste removal, around utilities, equipment repair, and even for our service contracts. Almost every one of those contractors has increased their cost for the same service that they delivered in a prior year. And so that sort of highlights the high-level things that are different in our operating requests for the coming year. On the right side of the slide, you'll also see some of our operating requests which are related to the ongoing or the onboarding of a new facility, our chat facility. And so I've sort of outlined what are our key steps that will happen with our process for this building. The intention is this summer to begin working with designers. We've already reached out to an architect. We have a number of fundraising efforts that are in place. The good news is that we were successfully able to submit a community-based grant to Representative Fouchy's office, and although she received, I think, over about 40 different applications, she can only move about 15 of those forward, and there are all indications that her intention is to move our request forward for upfit dollars from her community funding pool. As we keep going down that list, we also are working this week with the county to work with the EDA. They have special dollars that are for coal-affected communities, and we think this chat project fits perfectly into that. And what's good about the EDA dollars is that they can actually be used for construction, whereas many of the dollars have to be used more narrowly. So we're excited that we've got that meeting on the table, and we thank and appreciate the county for their partnership, and also for our request to Representative Fouchy's office, the support letter that came from this body. And so what you'll see, the intention at this point is we've identified a handful of classes that can move over pretty much using the facility as is. And so the intention is to go ahead and begin moving some of those over in Q1 of 2025. But we do understand that responsibility for utilities, ground, security, IT, all those sort of things will start to be our responsibility upon immediate occupancy. So my intention is to come back to you all in the fall, hopefully with a list of industries, grants, and other things that we've been able to track down that will give you an idea of our intentions for how to pay for the upfit, but also to create a fund that will help cover some of the operating cost as well. So we're well on our way in that effort. There's only one other slide. And so on the other side of our overall request, these are around our capital request. And of course, I think we're all keenly aware of the coming purchase for the chat building. The good news about that is because of our legislative allocation, thanks to Representative Ray Jeffers, we'll still have some money left over from that allocation that can go towards upfit. We've also made requests in our capital requests for assistance with mechanical, electrical, and plumbing for the remaining 15 buildings that are on our main campus. every single one of those buildings, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, are far beyond their useful life. You're aware that most of our campus was built in the 70s, and so there's still something that we've got to figure out around this. We do appreciate the request. It looks like it was honored, so that we'll at the very least be able to go ahead and update hot water heaters in most of our buildings and go ahead and make some additional investments in IT infrastructure. And so that is part of what's been recommended. I think those are the main highlights from the requests that we've made for this year on both the operating and the capital side, and I'm glad to leave my remaining time for any questions that you may have.
Board member questions or comments?
You mentioned, Chairman Powell, you mentioned first quarter of 25, some courses will be already moved.
Yeah, that's, I mean, our intention, we've got a couple of things that we can literally just pick. We can unbolt the furniture, we can unbolt the equipment, and we'll use our updated truck with our new branding information on it to truck it down the road and set it up. Yeah.
Okay. And could you elaborate on what types of classes?
Right, so it's looking as though it's going to be CDL truck driver training. That's the number one thing that we want to get back up and running at that facility, in addition to HVAC. That's increasingly become something that's really important in this area, in addition to our plumbing program. The next thing that'll happen after that, we'll probably also do at least one or two of our health programs, but because the health programs require certification by the North Carolina Board of Nursing, the timing of that, it all depends on when we can get on their calendar, so they have to come and inspect the new classroom. So we'll be working towards that, but popular things like our certified nursing assistant, phlebotomy, those kinds of things, we'd like to go ahead and get those moved there as quickly as possible. What's going to take us a little longer is to get the welding program out there, quite frankly. We know that's one of our greatest needs. You all have had a chance to see that facility, but because of the hooding and the venting that's going to be required, that's going to take a little bit longer, and we're currently working with an architect to figure out those details.
Do we still have Walter McGee on staff?
We do. We of course, yes, we do. He's one of our favorite, one of our most popular welding instructors. Yes, sir.
He can contribute greatly towards that area.
Amen.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Well, thank you. Thanks for all you're doing, and this is good information going forward as we work on the budget.
Thank you. We'll be back in the fall to tell you all the exciting things that have happened with funding. Thanks.
Thank you. Item number 12 on the agenda. Let's see, number 11, I'm sorry, is Person County Animal Services Ordinance. Ms. Kelly Lewis. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm here per Commissioner's request to go over a 3-year bite term or 3-year bite incidents that we received. I know you have 2 different information. The one that I pulled was to include the meeting that Commissioner Palmer read, the email that you had received. I wanted to include those stats from the email. So I went from April 25th. Yep. So to start out, we did have 329 bites in a 3-year period. Of the 329, 147 of them were actually family-owned pets. They either bit a family member in their home or they bit the actual owner. 12 of them were veterinarian or staff from the shelter. 2 of them were actually wildlife. 108 were cats, and 60 of them were stray dogs or owned dogs off of their property. Of the 60 stray or owned dogs, 8 of them we were never able to locate. 19 received verbal warnings. 13 received citations. 6 of them received a dangerous dog warning letter. 5 of them were actually deemed dangerous. 4 of them were surrendered and actually euthanized per their request, or surrendered and then euthanized. And then 5 of them were owner surrendered to euthanize.
That's what you sent us.
Yes, sir.
And you've got the report from...
So that report was pulled by the shelter manager.
It's an extra year?
So at the bottom of that, you see the date that says 1/1 of 21.
Right.
So that includes like an extra 3.5 months that I didn't include.
Right.
So that's where that range difference is.
And it also jumped the numbers up from 329 to 357 on bites.
Which is pretty average.
Okay.
I don't know what that difference is because I didn't break down those stats from the January of 2021 to the April of 2021. So that's where it added the difference.
Currently, we're experiencing slightly over 100 a year.
That's correct.
Dog bites.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
With 60 dog bites off the property.
The numbers you're giving us, are they city, county combined, or have you gone broken up city and county?
So we all share the same shelter manager program. It's all combined. So it is city and county animals all together.
I think it would be nice if we knew
Sure.
where most of the bites were happening. Were they happening out in the county, rural area? Are they happening in the city where there's a lot more confinement, a lot more people walking the streets and things of that nature?
So I will tell you, of the 60 stray dogs or owned dogs off the property, I would say a large percentage of those were actually people trying to break up a dog fight. It wasn't intentionally that the dog was actually going at a person, but that the person actually got in between two animals that were fighting.
That's a guess.
It's a large estimate. I don't know what the percentage, I don't know what the number is, but I do know is I went through each individual report and pulled through the information because it's not detailed out when we run an actual report on it. So I went through each individual one, and that's how I had broke it out. But it is a very large number where people just got in between two dogs that were fighting, which is still at a bite.
I
It's still
doubt
a bite
anybody
report.
here saw it.
Say that again?
I doubt anybody here saw this, but you say it's in the report.
We have,
But
so
you
we
don't
have
any-
reports that we can pull.
Does that reflect on the charts that we have?
What
that
exactly are you
The
wanting?
individuals intervened in a dog fight and were bitten by,
I can surely pull that for you, and then I can separate also whether it's city or county.
that probably would be helpful.
Sure.
Is there a leash law in the city?
There is a leash law in the city.
All day long.
The city
19
ordinance is different from the county ordinance, though. I do want to make sure that's clear. There is a city animal control officer that works for the PD, and they do have their own ordinance. And there is the sheriff's office that now has the two animal control deputies and the county ordinance. It's separate. This shelter just holds those dogs during quarantine.
Are you done?
Yes, sir. You have any questions?
I'd like to offer my notes that I made. My purpose for addressing this county dog ordinance, number one, public safety. Number two, public assistance calls for 911, EMS, Sheriff's Department, and Roxbury PD could be reduced. Current ordinance was revised, and I just found today, it wasn't 2015, it was here recently, like the last 3 or 4 years. If I read this correctly?
I think it was 2023.
I don't know the exact date. We're saying April 2023?
23, you're right. Anyhow. Current fines for dangerous dogs that have records of attacking individuals defined is $100. That's what I looked up and found online.
Were you looking at the city or the county website?
It's the county.
So each case is different on how they're fined. Depends if the dog was off the property, and then it depends exactly whatever situation that particular dog case was.
Dog bite's a dog bite. This fine is if imposed, is nowhere near being acceptable by my standards. Have any of you ever been attacked by a pit bull, a German Shepherd, a Rottweiler? I doubt it. I have. If not, you've never experienced a trauma caused to you and to your pet. It's for certain trauma that you will live with each time you exit your home. It never leaves your memory, especially when you take your own pet for the multiple daily walks. We have a very serious problem with resident dog owners in this county that don't maintain control at all times, their dogs. The unnecessary trauma caused never leaves the victims, and I mean never. I'm still living with incidents that happened a couple, 3 years ago, and my little dog is too.
What job?
I got a couple pages, so just be patient with me. Records received from Person County Sheriff's Department show that there has been a total of 357 dog bites from January 21 to April of this year. The 3-year, 4-month period average on bite incidents are at around slightly more than 100 bites per year on humans. 120 reported attacks on family pets. There are 225 recorded currently as being aggressive. 600 reports of animals, dogs listed as having been at large, roaming outside of their owners' properties. Now, there's a gray area there because people I've talked to mentioned, well, we have a yard, but we have a huge farm. Are we supposed to keep them within our yard, or can we let them roam the farm? And my answer to them was, when they come off of your lawn, they're to be under your restraint. Is that correct?
If they own the property, it has to stay on their property, whether that is lawn or farm. If they own the property, it has to stay on their property.
So if let me get this straight. If I had a 100-acre farm, a 1-acre yard, I make my dog stay on my yard, but I can let him run all over the 100 acres.
That's correct.
You gotta be kidding me. Okay. Thank you. Whew. That's staggering. Okay, let me go back to where I left off at. Oh, yeah, here's a good one. How many of you remember the UPS delivery driver that was attacked by a pit bull on January 23? The bite was severe. It severed the man's corpus spagazium, his baby maker, or better known as his private part. I found it stunning that our paper did not put that in their articles. I mean, alarmingly stunning. This man was seriously torn up, and he will never recover from this. I'll mention yet again that this is an absolute shame that each time I carry our family Maltese Yorkie on the 3 daily walks, how fearful it is, how I must at all times be on guard of and defense of dogs roaming the city. And I see them weekly. I know you don't because you don't walk like I do, but and nobody in this room does. Verbal warnings are not effective. $100 fines are not effective enough. Giving an aggressive animal or dog 2 chances before euthanization is not working well either. Total dog bite incidents at 357 for the past 3 years should have generated a sum of $35,700 if the owners of the dogs were actually charged the current $100 fine. The statistics you see are alarming. We can make our county much safer, and we absolutely should. And that's all I got to say.
Do you have any recommendations that I can take back to the Animal Advisory Board for any county ordinance changes?
Just increase your fines from 100 to 500. That may open some eyes.
I will bring that to them. Any other questions?
The roaming the farms, I don't know how to put it. it's alarming to know that you can have a dog that he can just roam 100 acres unfenced, and you got property owners all around it usually. And this dog, if he's aggressive, he could kill somebody. You know, we've had children killed in this county before because of pit bulls. I know you're aware of that.
Yes, sir.
German Shepherds, did you get you got the email from this Balfour lady several weeks ago?
Yes.
4 instances within a month's period. 4 different roads. And now she's saying she's not going to come back. She's going to tell all her friends to stay away from Person County. Strengthen your fines. Hold the owners accountable. When there's an incident, give them an actual fine, not just a verbal warning or a written warning. This is very serious business. I think you being in your job position, you would want your department to be the shining light on the hill.
May I add something?
Sure.
I just want to reiterate that last July, we did make a division.
I know that.
The
We have
sheriff's
2 in the
office.
sheriff's department and 1 for the city.
But this is a good opportunity that they are requesting 2 more positions, so there is
Right.
an animal control.
And they've been shot down.
Okay, I just wanted to throw that out there.
They've been shot down. Yeah.
I no longer have
But
a say-so
it's
in
gonna
the
get
animal
addressed during our
control.
budget.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have
Yes,
a
sir.
question. And it's I've walked my road, and there was a really huge German Shepherd that come after us while we were walking on the road. Well, the owner happened to be home and hollered at the dog as it was coming towards me and my fiance. So my question is that if the owner hadn't been there, what is my recourse? The one is, I know I had mace, and I know I could spray that if I had to. And then the other recourse is what Mr. Palmer said is, protect yourself with shooting a dog.
Take them out.
I don't know what is I guess I'm asking, what is the correct action to take if you're in that situation? You're on a public road, you're on the opposite side of someone's property, and something like that comes after you.
It really just depends on the situation.
So what?
It really depends on the situation that you're in. I mean, everybody has the right to protect themselves. Now, how they see fit is upon them. So I can't tell you what you need to do in that certain situation. I would definitely protect myself and my family as I see fit.
Right.
So I would recommend, but most of the situations are handled with the sheriff's department, where an animal control deputy or a deputy responds. They either give a verbal warning or they send that report to the animal control officer that handles the situation the next day. And then they will either take out charges themselves or they will instruct on how to civilly take out charges.
The thing that worries me sometimes when I think about this, and we probably have had some situations maybe in this county, but you have a citizen who maybe protects themselves and shoots a dog. Then the owner of that dog comes back and retaliates and shoots the person that shot their dog. And that's a scary situation that I think about for our county. But I do understand if you've got a large animal coming after you and you're on the other side of the road, and it crosses that road and comes after you, you're going to take whatever corrective action you can take. As I said, I have some mace. I don't know if that'll work, but at least I would give it a shot. And that's just my question, my concern. And but it's very difficult for us as a rural county, I think, to have a leash law in our county because it's rural. Now, I see if you are in a city where there's a lot of populations more and it's not as rural, I see that as it certainly needs to be enforced and be fines levied and what have you. But I also can see, people who live in subdivisions in the county, a lot of houses all together, and what happens with those dogs if they, attack someone walking the road or what have you. And as you said, it's people protecting their dog. A dog's coming after you, or you're trying to break up a fight, and you wind up getting probably the maybe worst end of it, maybe, I don't know. It's a very difficult situation for our county and for people who have dogs. And, I know we talk about the pit bulls a lot, but as you know, it's more than just pit bulls that will attack someone or attack another animal. So you're in a difficult position. I know. I was on your board several times, and it's a difficult position, and certainly we're concerned about the safety of the citizens. But I think it's very difficult what we can do right now from a county standpoint in putting a law in place and saying a leash law in the county. I mean, there's a lot of, what do you do when you go, we run dogs, hunting. You're running dogs. You're not going to have them on a leash. They're running loose. So do those people get cited if we had that? Makes it very difficult, But that's my thoughts, and I appreciate everything you're doing. I just wanted to ask that question because, if something were to happen to me and I'm walking down the road and something comes after me like that, how I react. And I certainly don't want to hurt an animal, and I certainly don't want the animal to hurt me, and I certainly don't want the owner to get mad if I protect myself and they come in retaliation. So it's a little scary situation, but that's all. Thank you.
Couple more items. We do have another board member here who has dog issues also. I'm not going to call his name out, but he knows who he is. He's talked to me about it, how alarming it is for him to walk in his neighborhood. What was my number 2 item? Hunting dogs are typically not aggressive. They're after a deer or a rabbit.
But if you put a leash law in place or something of that nature, you can't say, well, it's a leash law for this animal and not for that animal. If it's a dog, you put a leash law in for dogs, you still got to look at that. Now, how it's enforced or what have you, but I think that's what you're dealing with.
Hunting dogs are actually under a separate, they don't qualify under the same ordinance as we do. They're allowed to hunt in different forms.
Restraint.
Without identification.
Right.
Yeah, they fall under a total different category that we do not enforce. That is wildlife.
Okay, quite a discussion on this. I understand that we are to discuss, and that's what we've been doing, and make some suggestions or recommendations to you. Now, these recommendations are going back to her board.
So that would go to the Animal Services Advisory Board so
Right.
that they could look at the issues further, take into consideration, the feedback that the board is providing. They have the opportunity to look at, data and look at rules and regulations that may be in place elsewhere. They're coming from different vantage points as far as their profession or other roles that they have. And then if they were to recommend any changes to the ordinance, then the ordinance would come back to the Board of Commissioners for the commissioners to adopt an ordinance
And
amendment.
when do you meet again? When is your board?
We meet next week, but it's going to take a little bit longer with this board.
Yeah.
It would probably be an August meeting before unless we had a meeting not an emergency meeting, but.
Well, at the appropriate time, after discussion, after decisions, then you bring it back to this board.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, that's good.
Ms.
Okay,
Kelly?
are we clear on what we want? 1, 2, 3, ABC, what do you want her to present to her board?
I was going to mention, and it just hit me, then it went away. Gosh, I hate it when that happens. Anyhow, we can, I guess, proceed as we need to do, and then let them bring their feedback and
Okay,
see
what are
where we
those
end up.
things we want then? Fines to be addressed?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And levied. not just a verbal warning. If a dog attacked you today, would you want somebody to be warned?
Are you suggesting that they change the language?
Absolutely.
Well, okay, well, that's what we need to,
Yeah,
just be clear on what
that's
we're
what I
gonna ask
want.
them to do.
I want this to be a whole lot stringent, more stringent than it is now, because this, what we have in place now is not working.
Okay. So
You're looking at
fines
over
without
100 dog
warnings.
bites a year.
Okay, what was the second one?
Sir?
What, was there a second one?
A second.
Suggestion to,
Increase the fine and
Okay.
hold it, get away with verbal warnings, actually give out a citation.
okay. Got that one, Kelly?
Mr. Chair, and
Yes.
just say from my perspective, I have no recommendations.
All right. Anybody else? None?
Yes, sir.
Those two,
Wake up.
those two? Commissioner Palmer, those two things?
Let the,
All done? Okay, all right, got that, we're done. Thank you very much. Item number 12 on the agenda is appointments to boards and committees. Clerk Solomon.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. I'd like to present applications for 3 current vacancies, which include the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee, the PATS Transportation Advisory Board, and the Tourism Development Authority Board for nomination as the board deems appropriate. The first one would be one vacant position available for an unexpired term to fill through December 31st, 2025, for a citizen residing in the Mount Tirzah Township for the Environmental Issues Advisory Board. Sammy Clayton requests appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Mr. Chair, would like to nominate Sammy Clayton.
A motion on the floor for Mr. Clayton to be appointed.
The Environmental Issues Advisory Board through an expired term to December 31st, 2025.
Okay. So we do have a motion to approve the applicant. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None motion carried. Okay.
Thank you. The next one we have is a vacant position for a 3-year term for the PATS Transportation Advisory Board for an occupational affiliation representative for a medical-related service. Jeremy Buchanan requests appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
They meet at 4 o'clock. I don't know how you can get off work every meeting and go.
motion for approval.
Motion on the floor for approval. Further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
No.
The next one we have is a vacant position available for a 1-year term for the Tourism Development Authority Board for a citizen at large. Jeremy Buchanan requests appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
And there was only one
Question,
applicant?
I have a question. Is there a limit on the number of committees you can be on? Is it 2?
Two.
It is 2.
2? Okay, so he's on no other
He
committee?
is currently serving on no other committees.
I make a motion that we, Jeremy Cobb be on the Tourism Development Authority.
So you're putting him on both?
Yep.
That'd be 2.
All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
And so that concludes, huh? Okay, we do have their manager's report.
Okay.
Gonna put her up front.
Okay, thanks. This is a reminder that we have our budget one-on-one meeting scheduled tomorrow and Wednesday, so I look forward to sitting down with each of you to go over where we are in the budget process and what is included at this point in the manager's recommended budget as we work towards that presentation at your next meeting on May 20th. So I'll see you soon after tonight. First thing tomorrow.
Am I scheduled for tomorrow?
8:30 in the morning.
8:30.
See you then.
You have to get up early.
Did I have time for breakfast? Yeah. 8:30, I was in your office.
Yes.
Okay, I had several notes. I think sometime in the process of from one meeting to another, from one month to another, I think sometimes people don't realize the work involved in being a commissioner. I don't monitor what other commissioners do in relation to their committee assignments. I only know what I do, which I don't like to talk about. Whatever my job is, that's what I like to do. But a few notes. We did have an orientation training session for the new management structure for DSS that all of our commissioners were invited to or took part in. And that was enlightening to see what we are about to undertake or in the process of undertaking when this board takes over the responsibilities related to DSS. I did attend the County Safety and Wellness fair for the county employees with lots of vendors there and lots of activities and an overview from those vendors about benefits and the offerings that they each had. That was very well attended by county employees. I did attend also a ceremony for a $25,000 grant from Duke Energy toward the County Farm Park project, as we call it. And we're certainly grateful to Duke Energy for their continued support of Person County in ways well beyond what we normally think about, and that is our local power plants. I did attend the 40th anniversary of the Leesburg Volunteer Fire Department ceremony. Visited their location, their new building, their new grounds. Very impressive with what they have done in raising money to better serve their community. Also along the lines of the VFDs, all of our volunteer fire departments in Person County now have achieved the goal of lowering the ISO ratings, which equates to lower homeowner insurance, and that was the objective of additional funding for volunteer fire departments, and we certainly appreciate them and commend them for doing an outstanding job related to citizen safety and service. I did attend as well, along the lines of community service, a emergency alert system by our county EMS staff, getting the senior citizens there all signed up for emergency service calls, which numerous ones of those there were not able to do that on their own, so staff was able to help them. Manager Kathy and I attended a Roxborough Housing Authority event celebrating the remodeling of one of their buildings there to become, did they call it an educational, I can't remember the term.
A community center, I
It's
think is what they
community
call
center
it, but along
for
those lines.
educational purposes, and I think there was a $2 million investment there by someone that they had acquired on their own. And speaking about time and what commissioners do, that took 4 hours there for an extended period of time, which was worth it. It's good, a good move. Also took a tour of the Dominion site that's under construction. And that was a tour to allow commissioners to go on site, and it was a special privilege to be able to do that they extended to us. And in that, I was sort of amazed at the safety procedures that were taking place. numerous factors related to construction that I don't really know anything about, but I can observe and I can see things like silt screens, which they have double silt screens, not just one, but doing an outstanding job with that as well. Before we could even leave the office, we had to go through a safety training session. We sat through that training session with other site employees. And then they dressed us up in safety gear with the hard hats, the safety glasses, the vest and gloves, all those things that they require on site at this point. And I was impressed with it, that they're following protocol with safety at that site. And again, it was sort of an eye-opening event, and enjoyed being there. Also, we had a delegation go to Raleigh last week to Research Triangle Regional Partnership annual update from that regional division of economic development in Person County. And I think we had the manager, EDC director, we had the president, Ellen, he was there, EDC director and assistant director, helped me out, Catherine.
All
We
of our
had-
EDC staff
all
went, and
went,
Dr.
okay.
Senegal was there, Dr. Berryhill,
And Scott McKinney, I
and
believe.
our public information officer.
She was there as well.
Yes.
But a very, very informative event with lots of data that we'll soon have downloaded related to what's going on in North Carolina, as well as what's going on across the country. And I think our RTRP does an outstanding job of attracting business to the region and getting some word in there about the wealth of property as well as hardworking people here in Person County. So it was, a good event, well attended and very informative. And attended a Special Olympics at Person High School last week in support of our handicapped individuals. That's an outstanding event. And then there was another meeting, Roxborough Housing Board of Directors, for a new venture that they've gone into with establishing a new board of directors for their facility and their use. Very impressive as to how they've adopted general statutes related to procedures for conducting business for a nonprofit. And another, there was a National Day of Prayer that was very well attended. So those are a few things that happened in the last couple of 3 weeks, just a few. And that leaves out emails, phone calls, face-to-face talks. So another day in a board member's day. Commissioner Sims.
I'll just, a couple things that you attended. I attended the Duke Check presentation. It was at Parks and Rec. I also took the tour of the Dominion Energy Plant site. And as you said, the silt screens, double silt screens were in place. And, my observation right now is just a lot of land being cleared. And they're still moving a lot of dirt. But as you said, their safety program was really good, really strong. I was impressed with that. And looking around, I did not see anything that was unsafe or out of place at that facility. But it is early stages, and they are doing a lot of moving of dirt. Has a very good safety program. And, we just got through having close to 5 inches of rain here over the weekend, all that heavy rain. And those silt screens will catch so much. And so Yeah, there'll be some, muddy creeks or something of that nature, but during a construction process like that, you just can't keep all the dirt from not leaking out a little bit, especially when you get 5 inches of rain. It's a muddy mess. So I know the citizens are concerned about that, but I know we've had that situation at my plant when we were doing construction, and it clears up. So that's all I've got.
Commissioner Palmer?
I would like to bounce off of that because you have planting season going on also now. Farmers don't put this fencing or netting around their fields, so this could contribute also. I did attend the DSS meeting along with a couple more. I think it was Gordon and Dirk.
Yep.
You guys, you came late. You were there, that's right. All of us were there. Every one of us. Good job, man. Attended Parks and Rec recognition of the $25,000 gift from Duke. Dominion Energy, I was supposed to have went the following day after Gordon and Dirk went, and oh gosh, can't remember her name. Anyway, she calls the next morning and postponed my visit, hopefully to this week. Because they had a previously planned, I guess it's a DEQ meeting, I guess Division of Energy Quality or something. I don't know what it means, the definition of that. And I attended the county veterans recognition at our Veterans Park, I think it was Friday, and they have a luncheon for the county veterans that work for the county. That was well attended also. But yes, we do keep a pretty busy schedule.
Commissioner Perrier?
Yeah, I was late, so was Derek, because we had to attend a Board of Equalization Review meeting, which occurred at the same time, so things happen at the same time, so it is what it is. One quick question to the county manager. I was notified that there were several volunteers in the county that were invited. I guess this group is called the Triangle Nonprofit and Volunteer Leadership Center, that they had a luncheon today from the governor, and there were several Personians, volunteers that were in attendance there, and I'm just curious if invitation was received from to the county.
And you said the group is called
the Triangle Nonprofit and Volunteer Leadership Center.
That does not ring a bell.
Okay.
But I can certainly double check my email to make sure I did not
Thank
miss
you.
anything.
I understand that the city may have not been invited, but there were several other municipalities and county officials there, so I just wanted to make sure that we weren't left off on that.
And where did that event take place?
It took place today at the Sheraton Imperial Hotel at 11 o'clock in Durham.
I'll look and see if I can
Thank you so
find more
much.
information on that. Sure.
Commissioner Thomas?
So I want to thank you, battle back home. So we want to thank all the people that came out today, especially the school board. School board, they had a tough thing to do to present to us, and it's important for us as a board to keep education at a high level for Person County, and I appreciate all their hard work. Also, the JROTC is going to have a National Signing Day Saturday, May 18th at the Veterans Park. You need to write that down. We all can attend. I think it'll be great for those young individuals that are signing off to go to the service.
What's the date?
It's May 18th.
Time?
11 o'clock, Saturday.
At the Vets Park?
At the Vets Park.
Thank you.
That all? That it? Okay, Madam Clerk, for one thing for clarity, going back to item number 7 on your minutes, that was taken to grant or deny that request. My vote was no. I don't know if you heard me or not. My vote was no.
Yes, I have that recorded as a no.
Okay. All right.
And just to clarify, the motion indicated something that you did not agree with.
Okay, then that brings us to closed session. We need a motion to go into closed session. Number 1, for General Statute 143, 318, 11A3. Those permitted to attend would be Manager Kathy, Clerk Solomon, County Attorney, and in this case, Mr. Nick Herman, who is graciously substituting for Mr. Morphus. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Motion to go into closed session. Comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, none. Motion carried. Lights are on. We're back in open session at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I offer to authorize, this board authorize you to sign the resolution by the county of Person to amend the current complaint to add claims against Express Scripts and Optumerics and their relative subsidiaries, the PBM defendants, concerning their role in fueling the opioid crisis, and for this to be on public record upon adoption.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as stated?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.